morning. How's everybody? I'll wait. How's everybody? All right, good. Moving on. That's good. That's good. So, I had a good week. Remember? Look what somebody figured out how to do. How hard can it be? Remember I said I wanted a bumper sticker? Thank Chalmer. He figured out how to do this. We're going to mass produce them, all right? This week we're going to keep going with our series on Get Off the Bench. And we've been talking about ways to help our community and get off the bench. We've been trying to figure out ways to get actively involved. And I've been trying to give you very specific ways, in addition to general ways, that we can be more active as a church. And this week we're going to speak about our young adults. And of all the things that have been difficult for me to become a pastor, this is one of the most difficult. I've always worked with the youth ministry, the teenagers in particularly, and that those teenagers grow up. So you extend the people that you care about, as they grow up, right? And when God says, I think I would like you to be a pastor, I soon realized I can't keep staying as active in that ministry if I'm going to take on this role. And I fought that in the beginning. And I've realized that I need to let go of the control. That I tell you all the time, we're not in control, God is, and you need to listen to what he asks you to do. So I'm trying to do that, but just like you, it feels funny. And I have a heart for the young adults, the teenagers. And so this one hits very close to home for me, things that I've seen for years as being issues, and God has helped me line some of this stuff up. So let's dig into this. Who defines young adults? Define that for me, okay? Everybody's going, that's me, right? 18 to 30-year-olds. Sure, Shannon, right? You and your dreams. We'll get you a bumper sticker. I can only have a dream, right? Yeah. You young at heart, though. I'll give you that, right? 18 to 30-year-olds. That's about 2 years left in the millennial crowd, and all the rest of you Gen Zers. All right, so who's a Gen Zer in here? Wave at me, Brooklyn. There you go. All right, you youngins, this is the bulk of what I'm talking about. All right, some of you younger adults have graduated, moved into college age, starting life, starting jobs. Okay, this is who we're talking about. Now, historically speaking, this demographic, they're usually the strongest, they're the healthiest, right? They're usually full of energy, they're full of new ideas how to conquer the world, right? They are driven to affect change. This is typically a group of people that historically are working on establishing roots and long-term relationships as they find their helpmate, as they figure out what their career is going to be, as they start plugging into things in their communities. They learn how to get married and have a family. This is generally when a lot of good things are happening. So why are we concerned? All right, this is the movers and shakers of the world, right? Typically. I'm going to talk in a lot of generalizations, okay? And specifically, if you're sitting in church, this may not exactly apply to you because you're in another category we'll talk about here in a minute. But why we need to be concerned is that this group also struggles with anxiety and depression more than any group, any generation to date, including those who went through the Great Depression. All right? Think about that for a minute. All right? Your relatives went through your older relatives went through the Great Depression. You didn't have work, didn't have food. Okay, times were, in my opinion, really hard. Okay? Those people are happier than this group of people. All right? It gives you some perspective, right? This group have a unique problem, I'll call it. They have this self-imposed hang-up on having to be perfect. They have to be perfect in their academics. They have to be perfect in their sports delivery. They have to be perfect with their hobbies. They have to have the perfect cars. They have to have the perfect selfies. They have to have the perfect, kitty cats, whatever. They are really obsessed with perfection. All right? That's not healthy, right? They are feeling huge financial pressures. And all of us who have kids that are about in this age or have, you say, look, you'll get your start. You'll get there. Keep putting one foot in front of the other. But if we're being objective and we're being fair, this generation is faced with interest rates that a lot of us never had to deal with, right? Some of us can remember 16, 18% home mortgages, all right? But most of us are sitting pretty good at 2, 3, 4%, right? Let alone the cost of a house, the cost of a car. I remember the last vehicle I bought was almost twice what I paid for my first house, all right? So, yes, it's a nice truck, but I had a nice house too, okay? It's all relative, right? But they are looking at that and they're thinking, how can I afford a home? I can't afford to get married. How can I ever be? And the world keeps dripping at them over and over again. They suffer from tech addiction. All right, now we all talk about these are bad things. These are tools that we use, right? But this generation is one that are completely isolated, even though they're amazingly connected. Okay, I told the story at camp one time. I remember when I first went to my week at camp, and we all exchanged addresses, and I had a pen pal from Wampum. Okay. She's a cute little girl, but she was still my pen pal from Wampum, right? I was probably about, 10, okay? They don't even know how to address an envelope, let alone want to, right? They are connected instantly on their social media, their Snappy Chat, their FaceTime, all this stuff. All that is instantaneous. So why are they isolated? We're going to talk about that. All right, in a sentence, we're going to summarize this. The young adults today worry more, are lonelier, more depressed, and overwhelmed with being perfect. They feel like they are never going to get ahead financially, all while being the most connected and advanced from a technological standpoint. So what does the research tell us about their spiritual life, their moral compass? How do they feel about God, the church, their community? They are less likely to attend church than any other generation before them. Now, there's multiple reasons, but the driver is going to church was not placed as a priority in their life. This is where we, as the generation ahead of them, had better look in the mirror because we dropped the ball. We walked away from church, therefore, they walked away from church. All right? So those of you who have your kids in here, good job. Good job. Right? Even you, Shannon, right? But since they get most of their information from social media and they don't go to church to experience what going to church looks like, they, as a whole, feel that everybody who goes to church is Southern, white, conservative, Republicans. Okay, if you polled them as a group across the United States, they would strongly put us in that category, all right, as a churchgoer, all right? Now, just bear with me, all right? The majority of them will tell you, I'm an atheist. I'm an atheist. But if you spend any time talking to them, they're not atheist, okay? Atheist means they don't believe in a God. Well, yeah, I believe in God, but I just don't get into them, okay? They're agnostic, meaning that they don't see the importance of God in their life. They don't recognize him as being a higher power that has any influence in their life. They don't look at him as they should model their life after his words or the truths that he talks about as a moral compass in their life. Okay? So these are problems, right? So are you starting to get a handle on the, why should we care? I hope so, right? So far it's been pretty discouraging, right? And I remember it was about a year ago, we got together on a Saturday to talk about this subject. And this was one of the subjects we did in like a class session. And we all were really depressed because we want to help. We didn't know how to help. I mean, this idea has been percolating for a while, right? I get it, all right? Now, let me give you some good news, though, all right? This group has one of the strongest senses of justice and concern for their fellow humans than any other generation, which is staggering to me if you consider the greatest generation that went off to World War II, right, that served in Vietnam, that did these things. There's a sense of patriotism there that is hard to match. But this, by definition, what our pollsters and our statistics show us, this generation, the young adult generation, cares more for people than all of them combined. That doesn't add up when you look around, right? Just bear with me, all right? They are the most principled generation. For example, they welcome diversity and they don't challenge others' beliefs. Now, we hear that and think, yeah, that's the problem, right? Just stay with me. You're going to start to see as we peel the onion. They have a very strong sense of caring for others. They don't care about your theology, they don't care about your socioeconomic status, and they really don't care about your political status. Okay, if you were broke down along the road, this generation would be more likely to help you than generations before. Hard to understand that when we see all these things that we grumble about, but these are statistical facts, all right? Now, because they are what they've been called the loneliest generation, we talked about this isolationism, okay? And this is good news. They are starving for each other. And you're going to see why this is really good news for us who are trying to help them. They are starving for a sense of community. They are starving for a sense of honest truth. They sure can't trust their media sources, and they know that, right? They want a concrete answer when they ask a question. And a crazy bright spot of this group is of the Gen Z Christians polled, they have the strongest sense of, if I'm a Christian, I need to tell somebody why it's important to be a Christian. Now, you think about this for a minute. They're the most principled generation, right? So if you're a Christian and you're in the most principled generation, they're more likely to stand toe-to-toe with you and say why I think my values are important. And because they care about people, they are the most focused generation on saving other people. Does that make sense? You see how this knits together? So our why has been established, and even though, it's different, honestly, this is your next group of missionaries, folks. If you look at that, these are the group that's going to come out. And the beginning stages in the Christian world they're getting the age where they could be missionaries, they are signing up like nobody's business. All right, this part of ministry is growing faster than any other part of ministry. Of that group who decides they're going to commit to the Lord, missionary work is their primary focus. Okay? So, Matthew 25 again. Why do we care? Because Jesus said so. And he said, when you care for other people, you care for me. That's the underarching underpinnings of this whole thing. All right, let's move on. All right, how do we reach them? How do we disciple this group? How do we bring this group to the salvation offered by Jesus Christ? This is where it's going to get hairy and it's going to feel uncomfortable. Because in order to do this, we have to go beyond our church walls. Because of what I just told you, the people that are sitting here in that group are generally lining up pretty close to what the Lord wants, right? Closer than their peers anyhow. So if we're going to reach them, we're going to have to go outside the wall. Why? Because they ain't coming in here. They ain't coming in here. Why? Because this group doesn't trust the church, small c. They don't trust it. They don't trust the organization of it. They don't trust me. They, quite frankly, don't trust you. Because their whole life, because mom and dad and grandpa didn't take them to church, they didn't see you as a real person, right? They don't understand that you have faults too, and we are all a bunch of hypocrites, right? But they view us as, you're telling me one thing and doing another, church, small c. You are a bunch of hypocrites, right? And we do not have to be in a church leadership crisis, such as having a pedophile priest or having a elder having an affair with somebody or somebody caught stealing with their hand in a cookie. We don't have to have that for them to feel that way, okay? Because they're getting their information poured into them at rates that we can't possibly keep up to, cue the QR code, right? We cannot keep up. They're used to it coming at them so fast that they just glean off the top all the headlines. So they have very little desire to walk in the door. All right, so does this sound confusing to you? Well, I've talked to you a lot before. Well, yeah, we are hypocrites, and you've heard me preach on that. Yes, we are hypocrites. Let me give you a couple very specific examples, and I'm going to poke the bear this morning. All right, I'm going to poke the bear. I'm going to give you two hot-button issues that are very important to this group, and we're going to have an honest conversation. All right, how about we go to this? All right, we need to get rid of all these foreigners. We need to throw them out of our country. We don't need any foreigners here. They're screwing it all up, right? They're destroying us. You heard that lately? Sure. Okay. 1 John 4:20, what's it say? Whoever claims to love God, yet hates brother or sister, is a liar. For whoever does not love their brother and sister whom they have seen cannot love God who they've not seen. So from their perspective, I hear you church saying, you church goer, you that I know is a Christian, I hear you saying, throw them all out. And then the next breath you tell me to love everybody. This is a conflict of interest. This is hypocrisy at its highest level, right? And because they don't get close enough to us to understand what goes on, there's two problems here, okay? One, God clearly tells us that we need to follow the rule of law. Clearly. He told the Jews that, okay? He told them that about taxes. He told them that about all kinds of things. You will follow the rules of man, okay? When in Rome, right? Thus, illegal immigration is wrong. And it's a position that is biblically defendable, right? Okay, so that's what we're thinking when we say throw them all out. It's biblically defendable because that's a rule and they're breaking the rule, and we are a group of Christian believers in rules, right? However, where we screw up is when we say throw all those foreigners out. Throw all those foreigners out. What about ones that have come here legally? What if ones have come here on a legitimate asylum visa and we're trying to work to help them get out of a terrible situation? When we say throw them all out, this generation hears, you're a bunch of hypocrites. Why do I want to go to your church? Because they're so principled in their beliefs, because they're so caring of their fellow man, whether they know them or not, this collides in their head, and they quickly put us in a pile. Right or wrong, they put us in a pile. How about this one? Imagine this conversation going on between a Christian and a non-Christian, right? Well, abortion is terrible. It's wrong to end lives at all levels. We must save these babies. Okay. Are you willing to help this woman and care for the child and adopt it? Well, look, I have a family. I did it the right way, right? I did it the right way. I can't take on another kid. Are you kidding me? Okay, I understand. Well, would you be willing to lend a hand at the local women's shelter to help educate them? Or maybe walk alongside somebody who's already terminated? Would you be willing to do that? Oh, wow, that would be really hard. That would be really hard. I really feel for them. I'll pray for them. That would be really hard. But, I don't think God's calling me to do that right now, because my life's like really hectic, and I really feel bad. But, what did Jesus say? You hypocrites. Isaiah was right when he prophesied about you. These people honor me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. They worship me in vain. Their teachings are merely human rules. This is what we're battling. Abortion clearly is biblically wrong, but again, because they won't walk in the door to hear us, we put that on them. Okay, kind of what Alan said. Quit worrying about all the don'ts and start worrying about the do's, right? It's easy to show someone in the Bible why we believe this, but we got to get close enough to them to have a conversation, right? If our actions don't match our words, like save the babies, but I got no time for kids that need help, how do they not hear that as hypocrisy? We have to be objective. We have to be able to look at the situation objectively and try to understand who we're trying to help if we're going to be effective. That's all I'm asking you to do here, right? So really, we have a choice to make. And when they try to put us in a box, we have a choice to make. We can defend ourselves, right? And we can work to overcome the stigma. We can put an advertisement in our bulletin for a young adult study that they never see. And we can show up and sit there and wait and then grumble why nobody walks in the door and say, see, they don't even want to help. They don't want to help themselves. They don't want to get to know Jesus. I'm here trying to help them. Don't they see me here trying to help them? Or the choice is we can recognize where they're coming from. We can attempt to try to understand, and we can try to come to the conclusion that we're in this enough to love them enough to change the paradigm. And we make an effort to go get them, to meet them where they are, where they're comfortable. Isn't this exactly why Jesus went through Samaria? Think about your Bible, okay? This was an episode of The Chosen I was rewatching for the 15th time. And they're like, what? We don't want to go there. Jesus, I don't think you understand. We don't want to go there. Yeah, I got some people I got to see, right? That's Samaria. Don't stand here in Judea and say you want to save the world when Samaria is all around you. We have to go to them, folks. We have to figure this out. It doesn't matter if they're unfairly judging us. It doesn't matter if they're not being impartial and looking at that right way. It doesn't matter, okay? You want to talk about being put in a box. Even kids that I went through camp with, now that I'm a pastor, they view me differently from that generation. All right? I've been surprised by it. But they almost kind of like, you're going to be all preachery on me now because you're a preacher now. Now, I'm the same guy that got muddy with you at camp. I'm still saying the same thing I did before. But because your worldview is changing, I am becoming demonized in your life, right? This is where Satan has them, folks, right? They have a captive audience. He has a captive audience. And if I'm truly concerned about ways to help them, if I really give two rips, then I have to figure out a way to break down walls, right? Hulk smash, right? We got to go through the door. We got to get outside the wall, right? We have to. I'm tired of the hypocrisy. We have to do it, right? So what does that look like? Again, we think this is so complicated. It is not. That's why I was giving you some of this good news before, right? They are already looking. They are already seeking truth, right? They know that the world that they've been dealt is not right. They know that these things are wrong because we've been telling them how wrong they are for their whole life, really, right? They understand that the world isn't what it used to be because not everybody could grow up in the 80s, right? They understand that. They don't need you to tell them that. All right? They need you to show them why your life is different as a Christian. It's like picking raspberries. I thought about this week. I hate to pick raspberries. I don't love raspberries, but I'll help pick raspberries. But every time you're done picking raspberries, what your arms look like? You're all boogered up. And I don't like wearing jeans in the summer. I'm always wearing around in shorts. So I go to pick raspberries. I'm bleeding everywhere, right? This group is like picking raspberries, and they jump right in your hand, folks. They're waiting for you to give them a place to land. They're waiting for that. They may not think it. They may not verbalize it. But actions, we have seen this. We have seen this through interactions we've had with young adults for a while. Okay, I have a friend named Larry. I've talked about him before. He has a love of the youth just like I do, young adult youth just like I do. He is a driller. He's a Christian geologist, just like we've been friends for a long, long time. And he lives over in Ohio. And he was telling us about a year or so ago, he was at the back of his church, and a couple young people came to him and said, look, the church is doing a good job providing us like a place to find like boyfriends and girlfriends. They were having like this ministry, honestly, we've talked about it. You got to have places for the kids to be able to find good, godly friends and dates, okay? It blows my mind we got to think that way, but I think there's a lot of truth in that. That church was meeting that need. They had, it's not the right word, they had date nights, They had Christian speed dating. I don't know what they called it, okay? But they were meeting that need, okay? They were providing a place for this group to get together. But these young people were talking to Larry, and they're like, that's really great, but I don't feel like I'm learning anything. I really want to learn something about the Bible. I want to understand this better. And Larry's like, what? It's like, yeah, I wish we had a place where we could just go and like talk about the Bible and talk about the issues. I like to cook. Why don't you come to my house? Okay, started off with like 6 people. The next week, 14. 2 weeks later, 25. And Larry's calling me. He's like, you won't believe how easy this is. You don't. I'm just showing up and cooking them pork butt, and they show up, and we talk, but they won't go home, Jerry. They're here till like 11:30. My wife's looking at him like, whose idea was this? You got to know Larry to really understand. But it was immediately successful. And Larry is wired a little bit like me. Well, we got to have a plan. Okay, here's what we're going to do. Okay, we're going to divide into 3 or 4 groups, 8 or 10 people each, and you read a chapter, or 3 chapters a week they were going to read in a certain book, and then we're going to come back, and somebody from your group is going to present what they found, and we're going to talk about it. And they're going to rotate around. That's all they did. All right? That's all they did. And people came from all walks of life. People came professionals, blue collar, longtime Christian people, friends that had no idea who Jesus was. In a few months, there was 2 groups of 20 plus. All right? I just messaged this morning. How's it going? Well, he's had a lot of problems in his life, from his personal life and family disaster. He said, my group is down to about 8 or 10, but I couldn't be there last week. Jerry, they led the group. I didn't need to be there. Okay? This is not rocket science, folks. It is not rocket science. Did Jesus have a curriculum? Did Jesus have posters? No. Jesus just showed up and spent time with people. It worked for him. All right? It'll work for us because he is with us. We need to be intentional. We need to be consistent. And we need to begin with a core concept of offering a place for this group to simply be together. They are not going to come in that back door. We're not going to call it a Bible study. We're not going to make it academic. We're not going to preach at them. We're going to provide a place for them to show up. We're not going to lie to them. We're not going to bait and switch. We're not going to say, hey, we're going to have a Christian date night and then never talk about Jesus. We're not doing that. We're going to say, hey, you want to talk about things that are going on? If you have questions about the Bible, we're going to meet at X spot. Well, geez, what's that look like? I don't know. Fresh grounds. Maybe your house. Maybe the bar. Maybe you get a corner table at Applebee's. Does it matter? You go to them. You go where they want to go. Quit trying to put them in your box and care about them enough to look at how they want the box to look. And honestly, they don't really know. So it's even easier. Don't do like I do and like Larry was trying to do, is like, we got to make this a thing. No, you don't. That's what Larry's lesson was for me. You don't have to make it a thing. Right? How hard could it be, folks? How hard could it be? If you have ideas, I want to talk to you. Don't overthink it. Make yourself available. And then get yourself prepared in prayer. Okay? Because that part, God did tell us. When you're getting ready to do something big, you better pray about it. You better invite me into the game. Okay? Nobody goes to win a wrestling championship without practicing. Nobody, goes to the World Series without a lot of practice and preparation. Okay? Well, you see, there we go again. I don't have time to do that. You don't have time to pray? I don't believe you. You have time to pray. Okay? Trust the Lord. Okay? Quit trying to think you got to make it into something. You're not in control. Well, geez, Jerry, what happens if this, happens in are we going to do this for non-believers and believers? Yes. Well, what happens if some unsavory people show up? Good. Good. Right? Good. Well, what if they want to argue and debate about God and I don't know all the answers and what if the whole group what if it gets out of control? We are not in control. We're not in control. This is where we trust God. Yes, he gave us a brain, okay? We got to use it, okay? I'm not saying we invite nudist week and we all show up because we meet them where they're at. And that's not what I'm saying, all right? I'm saying we got to meet them where they are and trust God to lead the conversation and trust God to prepare us. And how do we do that? We read our Bible. We study our Bible. Maybe it's just on a topic. Maybe you divide it up and just get them to understand because they do not understand. They do not understand what the big hairy deal about Jesus Christ is. Why are you worried about me, you hypocritic Christian? Why are you worried about me? You just take care of you. I'll take care of me. I'm doing just fine. And the lens we look at, no, you're not doing just fine. You're on the fast track to hell, and I want to help you. I don't know what your problem is, but don't come at me like that. Don't come at them like that. Let's just get together. If we wrap this up, all right, the group is hungry for truth, right? They're absolutely hungry for truth. All right. Hey, push the next slide back there. There we go. Thank you. They're hungry for truth. They recognize there needs to be something better, and they don't know yet what that is. We start by sharing how God's changed us. Not how to be like me, but how God's changed me and why I think it's important for you to understand that, right? Although they're digitally connected like no other generation, they are the loneliest, and they want to have this physical connection. Let's be there for them. Let's provide a place where they can land and discuss what's going on inside their head. They are incredibly principled. They have preconceived ideas about how hypocritical church is, and they're seeking justice for their fellow man in all aspects of life. We've established this. Meet them where they are. Show them that we struggle too. Don't pretend to be super Christian. Trust God to help us guide them back to the rock and foundation of truth that only he can provide. We understand that. They don't understand that yet. Get off the bench. Get off the bench. Samaria is outside your door. Let's pray. Dear Lord, I pray for all these ideas that you have put on my heart, Lord, and have tried to help me express. Lord, help me to equip those in ways that are pleasing you. Help us as a church to help get that ball rolling when the opportunity arises. Convict us, Lord, in our hearts where you want us to serve. Help us to see that clearly. Help us to understand that clearly. Give us the wisdom that we need, and give us the courage and strength, Lord. We love you. We think we trust you. Help us to do that more and more and more as we learn to lean on you and help another generation out. Help us to do that. Be real to us, Lord, as we do this. We know you can do it. We know you want us to do it. And we know we can do it too. In your name we pray, Lord. Jesus Christ. Amen.